In the past 8 months since my last upload, a lot has changed in my life and thinking ability. For one, I have two new roommates who are obnoxiously loud. They don't clean behind themselves. They lack any kind of emotional intelligence. You tell them no, and they just feel the need to lash out at you. It's it's horrible. And in the next 18 years, if they ever see this video, then I still love you. Fatherhood has taught me a lot about myself. The one thing being that I actually lacked patience. I didn't know how much patience it actually took to nurture and raise a child, which kind of took away from my hobby as a making videos. My YouTube channel started off as a hobby, and I forgot that. Right? It took me to go back to my videos and realize how much work was going into content creation. I started off wanting to make videos. The difference is content creation is a lot of research, a lot of planning that goes into it. Video creation is hopping in front of a camera and just going. And my hobby, and the hobby for those who don't know, is a pleasurable activity done in one's leisure time for enjoyment. That's what a hobby is. My YouTube channel was starting to turn into a chore. A chore is a unpleasant but necessary duty. I was starting to think about benchmarks. Should I upload this time? Thinking about algorithms. Speaking of algorithms, mine is probably shot. This video may get shown to 3 people. 2 of those people may be me making sure that the video is uploaded correctly. The other one person, welcome to the channel. But today I'm going to talk about why hobbies should be that in their purest, rawest form, something that you enjoy, and why they shouldn't necessarily turn into a chore. So sit back, relax, and let's dive in, shall we? A hobby becomes a burden the moment you start to measure it. This channel began as a place for me to organize my thoughts and talk through ideas, but somewhere along the way I felt the need to justify it. I felt like I needed a growth strategy. I felt like I needed a posting schedule. Why? Because my generation has created a culture that's become very extremely uncomfortable with doing things for enjoyment that create no measurable value. You can't cook anymore. You need to have a cooking channel. You can't simply wake up anymore. Do a get dressed with me every morning, and hopefully you will land some kind of a gig with the big model agency or some kind of clothing company. Why? We've turned the hobbies into unpaid internships with our own selves. Every interest doesn't need a business model. Every passion doesn't need a monetization strategy. At some point, we stop asking ourselves, do I actually enjoy this? And can I make money from this? Those are two extremely different questions. And over the past months, I was having these battles with myself. There was one voice telling me the algorithm isn't gonna like that you've been gone for so long. You're losing consistency. That next video, that'll be the one to hit. The second voice was telling me, well, you don't get views anyway. Also, you are finishing your graduate program. Also, you have a career. Also, you can sit down without turning every experience into content creation. And it took longer than I actually imagined to know that that second voice wasn't laziness. It was providing me with a different perspective into content creation as a whole. I had taken something that I truly enjoyed and placed it under the surveillance of productivity. When I was making videos, I felt like I was standing beside myself with a clipboard, checking off the boxes. Is his hook strong enough? Pause. Is the thumbnail eye-catching? Does he use keywords to enhance his search engine optimization? Is he posting at the right times of the day? Is he making short form content to direct viewers to the main channel? All these things. And I realized in the past couple of weeks that YouTube isn't the problem. The problem was that I had changed the terms of my relationship with the application. I was using productivity metrics, key performance indicators on the YouTube channel, on the hobby. Who does that? My harmonious passion, something that fits into your life, was turning into a obsessive passion, something that controls the way you do something. My want was turning into a must. It was going from I want to make videos, I want to get my ideas out, to I must do it this specific way or I'm failing. I must do all these things to make sure it reaches X amount of people, make sure I get X amount of subscribers, or I'm failing. That's at that point the motivation becomes shot, especially when you don't see the growth that you think you should be seeing, which goes back to another one of my videos, the spotlight effect. No one cares as much as you do. Now, if it grows into something bigger, then so be it, but don't spend so much time thinking that your hobby is the best thing since sliced bread. Maybe it's just another run-of-the-mill channels, and that's okay. Make your hobby as best as it can be, but don't use all these extra metrics to measure it off of your own personal enjoyment. And then I reached my revelation. You don't have to make videos. You don't have to. If you made it this far, you're not even obligated to finish watching this video. No one's obligated to do anything, especially when it comes to a hobby. You just do it. You can put it up and put it down whenever you feel like doing so. Amazing, right? I mean, it's amazing what you can learn from two new roommates. I mean, they teach you so much about yourself. A life measured by output, eventually mistakes, exhaustion for evidence. I wasn't standing still this past year, and it's taught me so much. My MBA program has taught me about finance and operations, but it's taught me much more on a deeper level. It's taught me about trade-offs. Everything has an opportunity cost. Every yes spends something. Those three important things are time, money, and attention. Attention being the most important resource that we don't realize is so scarce. You can't get back time. You can't get back that exact afternoon when your child wanted you to play with them and you brushed them away. You can't get back that what would have been the final phone call from a friend or family member. You can't get back that initial moment of joy that someone was calling to tell you, but you brushed them away. The Marine Corps taught me a phrase that I still carry with me to this day. Proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. When I was first told it, I understood it in the context of missions, planning, operations, and inspections, because inspections have a way of exposing everything that you chose to ignore. So in the future, when you look back and realize I wasted so much time and attention chasing something that I felt like I needed to do, you realize that it wasn't even worth it to begin with. You could have always came back to it, but those things that matter the most, whether it be family, whether it be friends, whether it be things that don't require perfection, then you realize time and attention are the two most important resources, and they must be used wisely. And I started seeing the principle differently. Preparation is specifically for performance. Family is part of preparation. Rest is part of preparation. There are a lot of external factors, well, technically internal factors, that are a part of preparation that if it's not done properly, then that leads to what? Guess what? Piss poor performance. Amazing, right? This year changed me so much intellectually, so much so that I decided to pick up a new hobby that I accidentally turned into something that takes up a lot of time and attention, surprisingly. I wanted to learn about world history without going into politics. But you realize that everything has politics. From 1 AD, 1 BC, name a year, there is some form of politics in religion, which is a rabbit hole that I got sucked into. Politics show up time and time again. I mean, prior to trying to learn about world history, then I realized it's so vast that I should start where I'm from, U.S. history. I mean, of course, I knew the information that we all know that we're taught in school. You remember Europeans heroically discovered a continent that was somehow already occupied. Not sure how those people even got there at all. Native Americans were either friendly enough to pose for the group photo at Thanksgiving, or merciless savages that stood in the way of civilization expanding more westward. The founding fathers declared that all men are created equal. All men, unless you're a woman, black, or native, or brown, anything. And what I found out was that I wasn't taught false history. What I was taught was that history is highly edited. It's taught to be palatable, so that we're not, in an uproar or asking too many more questions. We're taught just enough to move throughout school so that we know our foundations. Unfortunately, the foundation that we're taught is a small piece of the pie, because most of our contradictions are simplified, softened, and often just left out altogether or skipped because that's not important. Why do you need to know that much, right? Well, because context actually matters, especially in arguments when people who don't know history, they blur out things, but then you realize the reason for it to be left out is for control. History is only relevant when it supports a left side or a right side of the political spectrum. Those are the only times history is important. They're only important around the elections, when each side has their own talking points to support their claims. And I realized that searching history, you can't learn history without it becoming political. You can't learn about economics without brushing over some kind of history. History is an all-encompassing subject that we learn the least about. Why is this? Well, because you're not simply taught the wrong things. You're taught about what not to ask about. Don't think too deep on that, because at the end of the day, simply everybody went home. Apparently in history, everybody just went home. That's it. There's some teachers that go above and beyond to educate the youth, but usually when we're out of high school, most of our secondary learning, it stops. Some people just become okay with just knowing that we have a Declaration of Independence, Constitution, 4th of July, and Christmas. That's all you need to know. Good old American history, right? Right. The problem with this all is I've now become suspicious about certainty itself. I've seen how information can turn into misinformation, and how misinformation can then turn to disinformation. I've seen how obvious lies can be less compelling than incomplete truths, because a lie can be challenged, but carefully cropped truths arrives with evidence. And questioning the evidence itself can sometimes feel like questioning the person presenting said evidence. Politics. It's how Matt Walsh uses incomplete truths to talk about history surrounding black people, and more recently Emmett Till, which is simply disgusting to say the least. But I'm teetering now on world history and learning more about politics. I've been learning some from Professor Cox on YouTube. I don't sense any bias from her videos, so it's pretty intriguing, especially when you know what you're looking for. I've kind of gotten off topic when it comes to hobbies. Well, actually, I'm still on topic, because my time and attention now is kind of going back to make up for missing splotches in my memory that should have been filled with important information, but it was filled with giving the worksheet and talk about what year was the Declaration signed and why was about the Tea Party so important. What year did slavery officially end? Even though there were accounts of slavery early in the 1900s, but that's not important. I got off topic. I apologize. But to wind it down, I'm not telling you how to think or what to think. I'm kind of sharing what changed the way I think. This is, like I said, a digital diary. A year ago, I thought that having all the answers was what it took to grow. Now I see growth as asking and preparing the right questions. Because like I mentioned in a little political tangent I went on, people are going to give you what they want you to know. People are going to give you what they think you should know, or what's the softest way of making something palatable for you. And I've learned that patience and slowing down is very important. It's amazing what 3 people can do for your development, and how patience is an important value that we don't that we sometimes take it granted for. Being able to slow down, because no one has the world figured out. In my generation, we probably think we have it figured all out. And statistically speaking, every generation thought they had it figured out. Luckily, every generation did not get their way, because if we do a little history dive and go back to the first generation that established the colonies, if they had it all figured out, I wouldn't be able to make a video or probably talk in front of a camera, let alone criticize the way the history was taught. So I'm grateful for that, and hopefully my generation doesn't have it all figured out. We'll get AI content and have streamers coming up putting the phone in your face for content creation. So where does that leave me? Honestly, in a healthier place. I've not realized that this is simply a hobby, and it'll remain that. I don't feel the need to, I gotta make a video next week, I'll make 2 more next week. I'll simply post when I want to. The weirdest thing of it all is you guys will be able to read my diary with me and go through my diary and see what was he thinking a few years ago. This channel is nothing more now than a digital diary. The content creation is still there at large. I mean, I want to talk about economics. I want to talk about finance. I want to talk about my graduate experience going through my MBA here in Hawaii. I want to talk about the moving process, the home buying process, starting a family, being married. All these things I want to talk about under the age of 24. But some moments are meant to be poorly documented and fully lived in the moment, if that makes sense. So until next time I see you, thank you for stopping by. And that's a small bit what I've been doing the past 8 months. Let your hobbies speak for themselves. Don't feel the need to justify your hobby by using metrics and benchmarking someone else who has similar thoughts and opinions to yours, and you think that yours is now more profound for some reason.